My name is Christine. Welcome to Book Talk. Today we are discussing Just 1 Year by Gayle Forman. Just 1 Year is the sequel to Gayle Forman's other novel, Just One Day. I really enjoyed Just One Day. I read it in just one day. I got to the end. I was so excited to know that I had the next book. There was actually a little sticker and it was like, the sequel to Gayle Forman's Just One Day. I was talking to Ariel about this and she looked it up on Goodreads and it said the thrilling sequel to Gayle Forman's Just One Day. So I went into this book expecting sequel. That book ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger, so I was excited. My hopes all the way up to there because, whoa, I'm gonna get to see what happens after the end. And immediately, I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, if you haven't read Just One Day, I would leave because I don't want to spoil you for Just One Day. I'm going to talk about how it relates to this book, so bye if you haven't read Just One Day. I really love that book. And I have a book talk about it, so you can go watch that if you're interested in knowing more about what that's about. Okay, so anyone who's here has already read Just One Day, right? Right. Just 1 year, we're expecting to see what happens after she opened the door and there was Willem and he was like, come in. This book was marketed incorrectly. It is not a sequel to Just One Day. This is a companion novel to Just One Day. And I'm not saying it was a bad book. I'm saying that I went into it expecting a sequel, and because I went into it expecting a sequel, I was very frustrated. It starts when she wakes up that morning and he's gone, except it's from Bram's point of view. So we get to see from that point all the way up to the point where they open the door. There's no big scene after they open the door that we get to see, so don't go in expecting that because it'll ruin the book for you. I literally spent the whole book being like, oh, when am I gonna get there? When am I gonna get there? When am I gonna get there? And I'm getting closer and closer to the end. And I'm like, no. And we finally get to this section that's called Just One Day. And I'm like, finally, we're just gonna see that day. But the end scene is not till the very last page of this book. And I don't think that's a spoiler, really. I think that that should be known, that this is a companion novel. Now, if you liked Willem and you're really interested in what happened to Willem, which you probably are, you should read this book. It tells you everything that happened to Willem. We go on his whole journey of what happened to him in that year, and you learn a lot of interesting things. And I think I would have gone through it slower and enjoyed it more if I knew that going in, that was what was gonna happen. It wasn't a, oh my god, Willem and Allison are together, let's see what happens with their relationship book. It was what was going on with Willem when Allison was going on this entire life journey where she was discovering herself, and we get to see what's up with Willem because he's really mysterious in Just One Day. It's not about Willem, it's about what Willem did for Allison. It's about that one day and how it changed her entire life. And Just 1 year shows how that one day affected Willem, and I thought that was really interesting. Like, now, taking a sidestep from the fact that this is not a sequel, that was really interesting to see because reading Just One Day, I was convinced that that day didn't mean as much to him as it meant to her. I didn't think it changed his life like it changed her life, but it did. And it was a decently entertaining read. It wasn't as entertaining as Just One Day. I think I would give this an 85. And it's not completely because I was frustrated with it. I mean, I do wish that there was a little more of that last scene. I just would have liked a conversation between them and it would have been fine. And it ends nicely if you know that it's gonna end there. I just wanted a nice conversation. I just wanted a nice conversation after they open the door about their year and how they each changed each other's lives. I just want them to like say it to each other. We learn more about Willem's family and what's going on there and why he's been traveling all this time and his friends, and it's really interesting. But like I said, I'm in it for what happens at the end. So I blew through the entire book. Like, there were parts where I was like, oh my god, this is going on for so long. Like, I just want to get to the frickin'... It was literally my drive to get to the end that pushed me through this book. I read this book in a day, and then I got to the end, and I'm waiting for the payoff, and there was none for me because I was expecting the end, the sequel. This is not a sequel. Okay, so that is my warning about this book. If I take a step back and think about it, I enjoyed it. It was frustrating a little bit because we know that Allison doesn't see him again until the end of Just One Day. So whenever he makes an attempt to maybe look for her, we know he's not gonna find her, and it's frustrating. I'm glad that I know more about Willem because I really didn't like him much after Just One Day. I'm still not a huge Willem fan, but I understand him and I respect him. So if I was gonna rate this on Goodreads, oh god, I'm like really tempted to go for the 3-star rating just because it's so poorly marketed. It really, you can't go into it thinking that it's a sequel, and they said sequel everywhere I looked. It's not a sequel. So I think I'd have to give it 3 stars, but I'd give it an 85% on a percent scale. Like, I hate stars. They're so confusing because I gave Just One Day 4 stars because I wasn't absolutely in love with it, but I really enjoyed it. Meanwhile, like, this isn't a terrible book. It just wasn't to my enjoyment. It wasn't what I wanted, it wasn't what it was marketed as, and I wasn't as excited about it because of that. The marketing brought this upon itself. So 85%, 3 stars on Goodreads. I still would read it. If you liked Willem, if you want to know what happened, I definitely would read this book. Just know it's not a sequel. Okay? If you don't want to be spoiled anymore about Just One Year, you could leave now. I'm going to talk a little bit more about it, okay? Bye now, spoiler people. Bye! Okay, so reading this book, I mean, I'm glad I know what happened now. I still think that Willem should have woken up Allison and been like, I'm gonna go get some dessert for us, some breakfast for us, okay? Just so you know, I'll be back. That way she knows he's coming back. I was reading this with Ariel and we were discussing this, and we're talking about that note that he supposedly left. He left a note, but she didn't see it. Like, if you're gonna leave a note for this girl, make sure she's gonna be able to see the note. And he kind of goes back over that scene in his head and really regrets not telling her or not waking her up, but he also realizes that he was scared. He was doing that thing. When he finds something he really loves, he runs away from it. He gets scared. He's scared to stop and just enjoy something that he likes. He just wants to keep moving, because what happens if he loses that thing that he really likes? Because what happened to his mom when she lost her dad? And there's a lot of really great themes in this book. I loved how his parents met, and I loved knowing that that's how their story is gonna be. Just when he said that, I was like, oh my god, that's gonna happen to you, and it's gonna be beautiful. I really liked Rachel. I am blanking, I think her name was Rachel. I love that he went to Cancun, because when I was reading Just One Year, I was really sure that that's where we were gonna see him. We were gonna at least see him there, but we didn't. And when I was reading this and we saw that his friend was talking about getting girls to take a bite out of his sandwich, I remembered that Melanie was like, oh my god, some guy was hitting on me, and he was like, oh, you're gonna take a bite of your sandwich. When I first heard that, I was like, oh my god, Melanie must have saw them and not told her and just wanted to get her out of there so she wouldn't see them, because Melanie knew what Willem looked like, but that's not the case. They just missed each other. It came so close. He was in her hotel. Oh god, that was really frustrating. Those were the frustrating parts, when we knew she was there and he didn't know where she was and they didn't see each other, but they seemed so close. Oh, I love that Passover scene and him thinking about how she was probably having Passover too. Oh my god, the part when he wrote his address on the postcards and then thinking back about what happened in Just One Year, how she looked at the journal, but she just put those postcards in a box to ship back to America. Oh my god, this could have been so easily solved. And then we have the end of this. Rachel wasn't even a girlfriend. He was just being really touchy-feely with her. And he gets all excited that he knows what he wants, and we get scared that he wants Rachel and she's a fiance and stuff. But turns out he wants to work for her Shakespeare company, which is really cool. And the Shakespeare company is in Brooklyn, which is doubly cool because Boston isn't that far from New York, and there's hope for their relationship. And oh, I just wanted to see that conversation. God damn it. I just want to know what they said to each other. I also loved learning that Willem actually wasn't the lead in that play, and that when she saw him, he was thinking about her, not about anyone in the audience, about her when he was performing as Orlando. And I loved how that paralleled her taking the Shakespeare class. That was great. And then there was so much detail about his everyday life, I feel like, in this book. Instead of, you know, I really loved how in Just One Day we'd kind of skip around to the parts that were meaningful, and here I feel like there was a lot of more filler parts that we didn't really need to see. Like a lot of the Bollywood scenes and the scene with Jules, you know, were kind of unneeded and long. I just, maybe that's because I was trying to rush toward the end, but that's just how I felt when I was reading it. There was a lot of extra that wasn't as needed, and when you compare that to Just One Day, it was really nice. We'd always just see the scenes we needed to see, and then it would skip to like the next month. I was like, oh my god, January is going on forever. Get me to August. I definitely think I would have enjoyed it more if I had known it was a companion novel. Let me know how you feel, if you were feeling the same way when you were reading it. Like, did you read for a sequel? Because had I known it was a companion novel, I probably wouldn't even been that anxious to jump into it. Maybe that's why they falsely marketed it, because they wanted people to buy it thinking that they were going to get a sequel to that little cliffhanger, and there wasn't one. Oh man, it was a nice story, but it wasn't the story I was looking for when I picked it up. So share your thoughts. How do you feel about it? Let me know. I'm Christine. Thanks for watching. Bye!